You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
Well, now, welcome to the podcast from where are we? Bermagui. I was going to say Birregurra. We wouldn't be in Birregurra. We're at Bermagui. We're moored here, docked at the just next to the enemy, which is the fuel pump. And if Sue Stanley OAM wasn't here, we wouldn't even try this, but we're going to try and ring Greg Evans, who is on his way to the Northern Territory, and we're going to try and patch in Craig Willis. So that's recording for a start, isn't it? Right, so here we go. So have a crack at that. So we're ringing Greg, and he is... I hope this will work.
Hello.
Wonderful. Now, Greg, it's Sam from, where am I? Bermagui. And we're sitting in the saloon area of the boat, and we're just going to see if we can patch in your old mate, Craig Willis, to have a bit of a chat to us. So if Sue wasn't here doing this, this would be a disaster, and it still might be, so hang on. How are you going, incidentally?
I'm impressed. I'm very impressed that we can make this happen. That's fantastic.
We haven't made anything happen.
Now, are you in the harbour, or are you out on the swell?
No, we are tied up next to the old enemy, the fuel pump. Here we go. Now, hang on. Now, Sue is just. We're just trying to ring Craig. Just a minute. Oh, it's ringing. It's ringing. What?
Greg's on hold.
Greg's on hold. Greg's on hold. We're all on hold. Craig?
Hello.
And Greg?
Hello, John?
And Greg?
Yes, I'm here.
Now,
I'm here.
Fantastic that Sue has been able to work out how this happens. So what we'll try and not do is, I'll try and not talk over the top of you, or else, as you would both know, being professional men in the industry, that becomes ham-fisted if we talk over one another. But welcome, and Greg, just tell us where you are at the minute.
Well, I've just pulled off the side of the road, and I'm in Renmark in South Australia.
Well, that must have been that's like something like a circle jerk. That must have been exciting for whoever was with you, who was ever with you at the time, Greg.
No, I'm by myself, Sam.
Well, then even more pleasurable, Greg.
So I'm in the car on my way to Darwin. And had to, and I'm very pleased I've got reception, so that's very good. So, so that's why I pulled over.
And Craig, what time did you pull yourself out of bed?
Round about 8 o'clock, Sam. Greg knows where I am.
Yeah.
I'm up at Burrelite near Mansfield, so I'm having a beautiful time. And Donald just made me a barista-made coffee.
What's the weather like there, Craig?
Bloody freezing.
Yeah. What's it like in Bermagui, Sam?
It is absolutely magnificent. We got into Bermagui, Sue and I, at 3:30 a.m. this morning. I don't know if you've ever been on a boat that two people can vaguely drive, but have never been to the port before in the middle of the morning, 3:30 a.m. Can that get your attention? You wouldn't have been able to jam a knitting needle up my coat with a jackhammer. We were that tight. It was extraordinary. Anyhow, we're here. The boat has survived, and we've now just putting the mortgage to the house into the fuel tank.
Yes. Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Please.
When you left Melbourne and you went out through the heads and you turned left and you're heading up the coast, do you drive through the middle of the night?
We started at 4 a.m. and got to Refuge Cove, which is a nice area where mariners seek refuge, hence the name.
Wilson's Prom, is that
That's right? Wilson's Promontory. It's down, I think it's down that way, Greg. Yeah, we ran into the... We ran into the oil rigs not long after Wilson's Promontory. So, incidentally, Craig, the oil rigs, they're dismantling them because they say they're past their use. That means that they're not drilling for oil. Can you believe that? Why wouldn't they be drilling for oil still?
I can believe it, but apparently it is not fiscally profitable to keep drilling in Bass Strait. You went to Skull Island or Cleft Island. Greg, you've got to watch this on YouTube when you when you get to your next roadhouse. You've got to pull over and have a look at YouTube, where I watched episode 1, the 4 a.m. departure from Docklands, and then to Cletts Island, or Skull Island as it's known. And I'm going to give you a fact about Bermagui. You ready for this, John?
Of course, Craig. We don't pay you the big bucks just to come on and chat.
Who was the famous American writer who spent a lot of time and made a film at Bermagui?
Famous American writer. I'm trying to think of a famous American writer for a start. Oscar, not Oscar.
Well,
who?
He wrote westerns, if that helps you.
Mel Blanc.
No,
Mel
Zane
Blanc.
Grey.
Who?
Zane Grey. The caravan park there is named after him. Zane Grey Caravan Park. And he made a film. He was a mad fisherman, and of course, off Bermagui, you go out past Montague Island, and you can get the big fish out there.
Can I tell you something about Montague Island? We're travelling. We're travelling at 3 o'clock in the morning, and this huge light suddenly appeared. I don't know why it suddenly appeared, and I thought, "Holy Toledo!" And that was, what you say, Montague Island it was. I thought, holy, it looked like we're at the Tullamarine Airport and my plane's about to take off. So we've negotiated that. Now, I was going to mention something when you said Bermagui. I can't remember what I was going to say, Craig.
So, Sam, I have...
Oh, I know.
Wait,
Greg, if I just may, Greg, I just before I forget, because I'm just getting on a bit now. You talk about why we're stopping trying to drill for oil. Did you realise this is how nonsensical all this crap is, that the New South Wales government have extended till 2027 the fact that they're going to still mine for coal. They were going to wipe out coal mining and coal exports, but they found out that renewable energy didn't tick all the boxes, so they're extending the coal industry after everyone's jumped up and down and said, oh no, the greedies, we've got to do it and we're saving the planet. And they've realised that the planet cannot sustain itself unless we have fossil fuels, and until a reasonable expertise or reasonable area of reasonable part of developing industry is... Christ, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say renewable energies just don't work.
That's easy for you to say. And now the thing is, there's some silly things going on with state governments. Queensland state government have budgeted $150 million so that people can hop on trains and travel for just 50 cents a journey. So you hop on the train, no matter where you're going, it's 50 cents. Work it out that, if you catch a train to work and home, you're up for $1. And that's not bad. They've put $150 million out of their state budget into that little project to help the cost of living. And at the same time, they have increased the tolls on all the roads.
No, it's nonsensical. Can I just tell you, we had a small oil leak on the African Queen here, and Dave,
I saw that.
Dave is a gentleman who's come over and has fixed it, and he's just walked in to say, have we fixed it, Dave? What have you done? Have you? He's nodded, and I think, have we paid you? Yeah. Have we? Yeah. Well, and that's Dave was, so we've seen Dave off. Thank you so much, Dave, for coming down and doing that. What?
Now, what's the pre? You got nothing on the end of your dipstick.
Just a minute. What do you want me to do, Dave? Start the engines.
Oh, God.
Well,
I can go and do that.
Right, we'll get Sue to come and start the engines. So Dave's got to test that the O-ring he's put into, I don't know what he's put an O-ring into. I have no idea. But he's going to test it, see if the engine under load doesn't spurt out hydraulic oil. So, Sue, just before you go, I was going to ask...
From the SS... What are you calling it? The African Queen?
The African Queen.
The SS Minnow, the way you're going.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. Now, Sue, I asked you to come over before...
Gilligan would never have got off the island, Craig.
You could do your great Gilligan... didn't you do a Gilligan thing when we sat on the boat at New Year's Eve or Christmas time, and you recited more poems from the man from Snowy River, you chapter and verse. You did the whole lot. Mind you, you'd had a couple of jugs of claret, but you're up and about then.
Dave can go up. You can go up and start the engine. I think he's pretty capable. He's a mechanic. I'm sure he could start the engines.
Righto. Sue's now exerted her executive authority, and Dave's gone up to start the engines. So you might hear it come through the microphones. There's about 8,000 things I was going to say to you.
Well, I've got an idea. I've got something I wanted to talk to you about, Sam, because this has happened since we last spoke. And it's probably relevant to the fact that you're at the petrol bowser now, because a bloke in Adelaide won $150 million. And that would probably get you from Bermagui to Sydney Harbour. But $150 million, and they've predicted that he'll have nothing left in the years to come. Unless he changes his behaviour, he will end up exactly the same, broke. And this is statistically speaking, the majority of people who win the lottery end up broke.
Is that right?
Because they've done it. That's right. Statistics tell us that.
But good on them. I mean, if they've won it, then blow it.
Well, blow 150
Well, they
mil.
never had it in the first place, so then they would obviously enjoy it.
They should hang him up in the square and flog him. If he goes through 150 million, he ought to be hung, drawn, and quartered. Holy
I don't know
shit!
about
You work it out this way. That's $1 million for 150 years, isn't it? So
That's
you're going to get rid of that.
That is extraordinary.
This is the fact. Lottery winners are more likely to file for bankruptcy than the rest of the population. And they've got a name for it. It's called Southern Wealth Syndrome.
Southern SWS, Southern Wealth Syndrome.
SWS.
Mind you, I tell you how he could get rid of 150 million. Buy a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, taking money down to the tip and just burying it.
Well, there's the first noise.
Great.
They've just turned the engines on and now it's coming up. Someone's just run upstairs. He's just set the alarms on. Here we go.
You might hear they've started the engines. You won't hear that. If you can hear that through. Speaking.
So just to finish, Sam. Just to finish on that. So the professional money people have said of the man who won the $150 million in that. By the way, he was at a service station filling up his car, and he just randomly bought a ticket, a quick bet, as he was filling up his car. He won $150 million, and they said that what he needs to do is there's 4 things to avoid sudden wealth syndrome. And the 4 things that he needs to do to avoid sudden wealth syndrome is, number 1, get a financial advisor. Number 2, have a real estate lawyer on hand. Number 3, an accountant. And number 4, a legal advisor. Yeah. And if he puts those four things into place, he may avoid sudden wealth syndrome.
And number 5.
Now, I need to point out.
And number 5, Craig. Here. Number 5. Don't even think about getting married.
There's a difference in Australia. Is we don't pay tax on those winnings of 150 million, for instance. If you won that much in the United States, no, you don't pay tax.
Oh.
In the United States, you either have the choice of taking it as a lump sum, you do pay tax, or you take it as an annuity where you don't pay tax. Does that make sense? So, Greg, that would prevent the sudden wealth syndrome by having the money distributed to you on an annual basis and keeping the principal in the bank.
Well, good luck to him, because I had a ticket in that, and he can get stuffed.
Yeah, got nothing.
Now, tell me this. Go ahead.
Yes.
I'll just want to ask you a question. So I notice in America, you think we make these things up. In America, there's started an airline for an airline for dogs. So it's dog friendly, and you can take your dog on the aeroplane. I know you can if they're a comfort animal, but this is exclusively for dogs. If you want to fly somewhere with your pet, you can have 250 people on it with 250 yapping dogs on it. Now, why would you do that?
Podbean, your message amplified.
Ready to share your message with the world? Start your podcast journey with Podbean.
Podbean, the AI-powered all-in-one podcast platform.
Thousands of businesses and enterprises trust Podbean to launch their podcasts.
Use Podbean to record your podcast.
Use Podbean AI to optimize your podcast.
Use Podbean AI to turn your blog into a podcast.
Use Podbean to distribute your podcast everywhere.
Launch your podcast on Podbean today.
Gee, I don't know.
I think it's a good thing because you don't like being on a plane with dogs. So
That's exactly right.
So if you didn't have that option, then you'd have to sit with the dogs. Where now you have an option where they can have a plane and you can go on a plane with no dogs.
Oh, well, who does the seatbelt
My understanding
instruction?
is that Virgin Australia are about to introduce that here in this country.
Are you serious?
Can take your pet on board. I'm serious.
So
I read that the other day.
So, Craig, you and the lovely Donna, put your ass fair and square in 1A or 1C or 1B, and you got a Great Dane and a Bloodhound and a bloody Pit Bull Terrier sitting behind you, farting and... why would you do that?
Well,
Well, as Greg's best friend, Rex the Wonder Dog with us.
Jesus. The thing is, well, Sam just mentioned it, the key word. What if the dog, now what that wombat dog of yours, Sue, the dog that looks like a wombat, what's that dog's name?
Mr. Bosco.
Well, he farted under the table one day when we were in the studio, and that now if a dog does that on an aeroplane, the gas masks will fall down.
How did you know that it wasn't Sam?
Well, I don't.
See,
I don't.
You can just blame the dog. That's a good thing, isn't it?
I did.
Well,
Did blame the dog.
Seems a hell of a coincidence. Seems a hell of a coincidence.
Can I get in on this scientific conversation and point out that it wouldn't only be dogs that fart, that flatulence can be a byproduct of flying because of the air pressure. So
Right.
I can't believe we're talking about this. Air pressure, right, gives you flatulence. So it may not be Rex the Wonder Dog that's past wind. It could be the person next to you. It could be the person in row 3. Apparently there is a row 3 on a plane. I've never seen one, but...
In response to Miss Stanley, it would be more than a coincidence, wouldn't it, that I've been doing the podcast for 4 years and never farted on in the studio, and she happens to have a dog there sitting under me feet, and suddenly your eyes are peeled back and you've got your hair has gone back over the back of your skull with this horrendous aroma. I would suggest it's the fucking dog. Jesus H. Christ. So then the stewardess, or not the stewardess, the in-flight attendant comes out and says, gives you the seatbelt drill. How does that go with the dogs? How do they eat their food? Do they get frequent flyer points? How do they have a crap? How do they do all that?
Well, I've seen the guide dogs, for instance, on aircraft. They have a special mat that they put usually at the feet of the passenger. Sometimes they have a spare seat for said hound. They are on the ground. They are in harness.
Yeah, that's a guide dog.
And they're given a little plastic bowl of water. And most of them are very well, like Rex the Wonder Dog, are well house trained. And so they are able to hold off until such times as we disembark from said aircraft and lift their leg on the aero bridge. Oh, this is such a cerebral conversation we're having here.
That's like the man who was just had sight issues, and he had a guide dog. It was it was a guide dog. He walked onto the plane. It was a pit bull, and he got on the dog. Got on, and the dog attacked 6 people. And the hostie came down and said, "Holy mackerel, mate!" He said, "I know you." She said, "I know you're bad, can't see that well." He said, "But you can't have that sort of guide dog on a plane." He said, "You're meant to have a Labrador or a Beagle." And the bloke said, "Really?" He said, "What they give me?" And it's ripped half the front section of the plane out. Tell me this. It won't. It's all right to say if you're blind and you've got a mat in it. So say the plane's full of 150 yapping dogs. Honestly and truly, it's weird. No, it's fucking stupid.
What about the man, Sam, who was worried about road safety? So he went out and he bought a white dog, and he put a white collar on it and a white lead, and he thought, gee, I'd better be seen. So he bought a white suit with some white shoes and a white hat, and he went out walking, and he got run over by a snowplow.
That is so
terrible.
stupid.
That's terrible.
That's the best you can do, Evan. Oh, God, we covered some surreal topics on this podcast.
That's right. The bloke thought the bloke was up in a charge of possessing marijuana, and they came in and raided his house, and the sniffer dogs got hold of him. They found it in one of his cupboards, and he thought, I'll beat the sniffer dogs, he said. So the next batch he put it in the ceiling of his house through the manhole up in the ceiling. Did him no good because the coppers turned up with sniffer giraffes.
Oh, I thought
yeah, that's good.
How's your roll leak going?
Hey?
Now, where do you go, Sam? Where do you go from Bermagui when you've filled up and you've got your dipstick all organised with your oil leak? Out you go and turn left. Yeah. And where would you be heading for?
Greg, please, you don't turn left. You turn to the what is the left?
To the port.
The port. The port side. So we're going up to Shell Harbour. That's about 9 hours away. So we're just trundling up the coast to Shell Harbour. And now I know
you were talking, Sam. You were talking about coal before. You were going to go past two of the biggest coal exporting harbours in the world, in Port Kembla, where the steelworks used to be, and that was a big coal mining area. And then Newcastle, which is the largest port in the southern hemisphere before you get to Shell Harbour. And that's where, of course, the coal mining took place for many, 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 many years. And the power station there, I think at Wang, no, that's further towards Lithgow. I think near Lake Macquarie, one of those the power stations has just closed.
Well, did you know that, Sue? We're going to drive up here, sail up here, and we had no idea about all that. Did you know about that? Why don't you do some research so that we can look out for these places? Sitting up the front of the boat, looking at me.
So do you drive during the night? Like, does the boat keep going, or do you always stop?
We had a 19-hour trip from Queenscliff to Bermagui, so we got in at 3:30 a.m. this morning.
It was about 23 hours of driving because we left about 4:30, didn't we? Yeah, it was about 23 hours.
Yeah.
So someone always has to be at the helm, yeah? So you take
no, Greg, no. We all just put it on autopilot and went down and had 6 hours sleep and ended up. We were on the way to Kuala Lumpur when Sue woke. Yeah, said, "Shit, where are we?" He said, no, you got to keep an eye on what's going on, Greg.
Yeah.
You know, for whales.
You know you're in trouble if you see a junk going past your boat.
They get boarded by pirates. And they rag, bag and shag you, draw lots for your watch coat and send you on your way rejoicing.
Have you been watching the videos on his YouTube channel?
Tell them how you can.
If you go to YouTube. So we've been documenting it, all the mishaps or the funny things that happen, and I don't think people would ever believe that we don't actually put this on. It's actually him doing some stupid things. If you go to YouTube,
how do you get that? How do you get it? How do you do it?
If you go to YouTube, search for I think he's Smart as Sam. So at original Smart as Sam. Smart as Sam, but it looks like Smart Ass Sam, which my mother calls him.
She's a good judge.
Actually, I'd have to say the funny thing was last night was cooking the pasta, and he snapped the pasta in half, and all the pasta has gone everywhere. It's like fireworks and firecrackers that have gone off. And then he put the halves in the pot and missed the whole pot. It just went on the floor. You couldn't imagine.
The highlight of part one was watching Sam getting out of the little inflatable back onto the boat. And how's his leg, by the way? How's your leg?
I've got it looks like a snake. I've got 8 cuts on one of my legs. I've lost more plasma out of my left leg. Craig, you may well giggle. We've got a
No, I'm serious.
I'd like either of you. I'd like you to see you get into the thing, and I got into it, and the boat, the dinghy, slid under the transom at the back. I was actually completely under the boat.
I saw that.
We were only in about 1.5 meters of water, so it wasn't as if there was going to be safe. But it was actually quite funny just seeing him just trying to get in. It was
I did hear him use an expletive when he did that thing.
I had to delete a lot of that.
So
talked about transfusions or something.
Question. Now, Sue, I lost you when you said YouTube. How the hell do I see this thing?
Just Google on YouTube, original smart as Sam. So just
original smart as Sam.
Yes,
all one word, is it?
Yeah. So you usually put that at
Greg,
symbol.
I'll send you the link. How's that?
Thanks, Craig. Send me the link.
We might even put it on his Instagram today.
You know, Sam didn't tell me anything. He said, I'm going in a boat and I'm going up north. And that's all I knew. I didn't know it was going to be documented. And I didn't know that you were raising money for a charity.
We were going to do it anyhow, and we were going to just do it on the iPhone and just do a little doco and put it on the YouTube. And then the prostate organisation, RULE, they heard about it and they said they'd like to join us, and we would do a joint promotion of prostate health checks, and we were delighted to be part of that. So we're not on a mission with Rule necessarily, but we're telling everyone, if they ask why we're doing this, they say we're going up to far north Queensland, and if you'd like to have a prostate check, why don't you do that? Because I've had it and I've had my prostate out, and I'm sort of living proof that you can survive once you have had your prostate out.
So
beautiful.
Look out if you're ever coming along up the trip and you see Sam, because he's going to ask every male, have he had prostate checked? Dave comes on board and goes straight down to the engine room. He goes, mate, have you had your prostate checked?
Here you are. I've got your podcast up here. And there you are, talking to a bloke, shaking hands with him. So I'll send you that. Smart ass Sam, I've got it. There you go.
Well, there you go.
Technology. Look at this. It's got no idea what I'm doing here, but I found it.
Mind you, if I could just suggest, if you get your prostate out, make sure you've wound up any sexual activity that you were interested in having, because the libido drops right off. But it's better to be alive rather than be out, turning people over.
They have tablets for that these days. John.
Yeah, I tell you what, the swings are still there, but the playground's completely fucked now. There's just nothing going on. It's like more like an amusement park down there at the minute.
Any comments, Sue? Any comments?
No, well, Sue feels pretty fortunate. No, I tell you, I'll speak for her. She feels pretty fortunate that I'm not chasing around, because I've got no inclination to do it. Mind you, I'm working on it. I'm hoping the trip might eventuate in something, but keep the books open.
I feel pretty safe, just quietly.
Yeah. Now.
Oh, that's salt air. Look out.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine him up in far north Queensland dropping his anchor?
What's better than playing with yourself in the Riverina, wherever you are?
Now, I've got two questions. Well, I appreciate you doing this, both of you. I've got 2 questions. They're just completely out of left field. I went over to Devonport on Saturday before we left. I left on Sunday to come up and do this. And I was in the, wasn't a Fokker Friendship, but it was a propeller plane that Qantas ran. And
it'd be a Dash 8.
Would it be a Dash 8? Would it? Yeah. Well, it had 12 rows. It had. Now I know why they sell sardines cheap. Anyhow, we were in it, and so the person. Attendant, not the hostie, the attendant. She opened the door to the cockpit. Why would they call it that? And I thought, Tell me this, if this is not got up, how would people get on 3 planes with box cutters and fly them into the Twin Towers in America? How could you hijack a plane with box cutters? There's something else going on. If someone entered the cockpit with a box cutter, surely someone could say that's not really that brutal, not that worrisome that someone comes you to a box cutter, is it? How did that happen?
Craig?
Well, if I entered the Dash 8, if I entered the cockpit of a Dash 8 with a nail file or something, which they keep taking off you religiously when you go through the screening, I've got 48 nail files at various airports around the country just in storage. Yeah. How could you possibly take over a jet with box cutters?
Have
you ever thought about that?
I can tell you, I flew. Not long after what had happened, flew to the United States with United Airlines, and we're upstairs in the old 747, and they had a mesh-type thing that they would put across the cabin upstairs, which was about a metre away from the cockpit door, and 2 flight attendants were standing at the mesh-like thing. It was like one of those clothes hanger type, but it was on a vertical crossway, if I'm making sense.
Yeah.
And then they opened the cockpit door so the pilot could go to the toilet, which is just behind the door. And then he'd go back in, lock the door, and then they pushed this mesh thing back, and the 2 flight attendants would go back to work. So that was the level of security United had back in those days. You wouldn't see that on a Dash 8. And, John, you wouldn't fit into the cockpit of a Dash 8 anyway.
No, there's a very charming. I shouldn't say that. No, a woman was flying the plane. Obviously, very. I don't know why I said that, but a woman was. So she fitted in the cockpit, and if you were tall, had reasonable weight on you, wouldn't have fitted into the Kazi. I'll tell you that. It was about as you couldn't fit a rat into the lavatory.
No chance of Hush McCundy on the plane then.
Well, if you left the door open and stuck your oar out into the cabin, you might have a crack at it. But
Tom Blake did that the other day. He ended up naked on a Virgin flight from Sydney.
Really?
That'd create a bit of turbulence.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Now, Sam.
Yes.
I know you're raising awareness for prostate health and what have you, but there's a little thing happening here that I would like to just mention, if I may, to raise awareness. And just because I've actually brought something to the table here, Sam. So let me ask you and Craig, if either of you know this famous quote from history, and the quote is this: "If you shoot him, I'll shoot you." Who said that?
Shoot. If you shoot him, I'll shoot you.
Yeah. You can have a guess.
Steven Spielberg.
If you shoot him, I'll shoot you. Well, it goes back to 1878. Ned Kelly. Yeah. And it was, and the words were spoken. Now I've got Craig's attention. The words were spoken by a police constable by the name of Hugh Bracken. And here's the story. We go back to the Glenrowan Inn and remember that Ned and his boys had lifted the railway line because they knew the troopers were coming up from Melbourne. And they got the townspeople into the inn at Glenrowan, and there was a bit of a party that night. But Police Constable Hugh Bracken slipped out the back door and down he went to the train line, and he alerted the train that the tracks were off. So the police train didn't derail. The troopers got off, surrounded the inn. You with me so far, fellas? And then Ned slips out the back door and waits till dawn to take on the mighty force of the law. But the senior police officer decides, well, he's great armour there. I'm going to shoot him in the legs, which he did. And down went Ned on the ground, shot it in the legs. And that's when this policeman, this senior, superior policeman, was going to kill him. He was going to kill Ned there on the ground. And that's when Constable Hugh Bracken said, if you shoot him, I'll shoot you. And he actually saved Ned Kelly's life because he was going to be killed. And Ned survived. They put him on the train. They took him to Melbourne, and 2 years later they hanged him, of course, for murder. But nevertheless, what a terrific part of history Hugh Bracken played by saying, if you shoot him, I'll shoot you. Anyway, they threw him out of the police force. The other cops shunned him because he sort of stood on the side of the bushranger, if you like, and saved Ned's life. Well, they want to do a monument for this man, and I reckon that's pretty good. And at the Greta Cemetery, you know where Greta is, Craig, and near Whitfield there is the great grand niece of Steve Hart. Her name's Nolene Lloyd, and she said, well, why don't we tell the story of Hugh Bracken and what he did and his place in history? And the Police Historical Society said, nah, can't do that because he wasn't on the honour roll, so we can't allocate any money. And so the story of Hugh Bracken may simply come and go on this podcast.
So let me just go ahead.
Just sorry, John, just before Bracken took his own life, Greg, back in 1900, I think it was.
He did.
The Blue Ribbon Foundation, I think, are involved here. I was just reading about it, of all things, the other day. There are two cemetery trusts. The one at Greta is one of them.
And the one at Wallen.
Wallen, that's right, that they want to try and commemorate his outstanding achievements because, as you said, he asked to leave Glenrowan after that because he was frightened for his own life, not only from the Kelly sympathisers, but also from LA police.
Can I, if you two blokes swallowed a couple of editions of the Encyclopedia Britannica, I've never heard. You got more fucking information I've ever heard. We're just talking about sitting here filling the boat up with fuel. Are you telling me, Greg, that they wanted to build a monument to Mr. Bracken who saved Ned Kelly's life?
That's right.
Well, what a cocksmack Mr. Bracken is. Why would he try and save? Why was he worried about saving Ned Kelly's life? He was a thug.
Hang on. Ned's been shot in the legs. You can't have the senior cop kill him and murder. It'd be murder.
So the cop, Mr. Bracken, the other bloke was going to shoot him, and Mr. Bracken said, "If you shoot him, I'll shoot you." Is that how it happened?
That's correct. That's exactly it.
Down to that,
and so they saved him.
You've got to be careful up this way, as Greg.
What?
You've got to be a bit careful up this way, as Greg will tell you. There's a lot of sympathy for the Kellys up this way.
Yeah. So they saved him. Mr. Bracken saved him, only to have him hanged a week later.
2 years later. That's right. That's right. That's true.
He could have saved himself 2 years.
I'll tell you something else too. Curiously,
holy mackerel! Here we go.
No. Ned Kelly, when he was a boy, he saved a young boy's life who was drowning, and Ned dived into the dam and he saved the young boy. And he was awarded a sash for his bravery of saving the young boy. And anyway, he was very proud of that sash, and he wore it at the last stand at the Glenrowan Inn in 1878 when all this that we're talking about happened. So Ned was shot and he was put back on that train, and as the doctor was tending his wounds, he noticed that Ned was wearing the blood-stained sash. And guess what?
Yeah.
Guess what? I know where that sash is.
Where is it?
And it's still got Ned's blood on it.
Where is it?
Well, I mean, it's in a museum in Benalla. That's where it is.
Was he wearing the blood-stained sash when they hanged him?
No, because the doctor had knocked it off on the train when he pulled the bullets out of his legs. The doctor knocked off the sash and kept it for generations, for 100 years. Anyway, one of the doctor's sons said this has got to go back to the people, and so it's ended up in a museum in Benalla and with the blood still on it, and it's in a glass cabinet, and And that's about all I've got to say.
Tell
about
me
that.
this. Tell me this, Greg. When you're driving up to the Northern Territory, do these things just come into your mind, and you pull over and you research all this shit? That's extraordinary.
No, we just talk about this shit around the campfire, you know.
Having a Guinness pie as you were last night.
Oh, dear me. Anyhow, look, this is. We have plenty of shout outs. I went down. You would be amazed. Now I'm serious about this. Well, I'm not serious.
Yeah.
I went down to Devonport, and you would be amazed at how many people listen to this podcast. I tried to write all the names down, and in the end it was futile writing the people. And people just walk past you. They don't even say hello to you. Say, love the podcast. And they love you too, and they love Sue, who they say they don't hear enough of. So speak, Sue, so you can tell people you're here.
You can't even get a word in.
Well, go.
I just sit here and just.
No, so it's fantastic of you to join us. Any final thoughts about anything?
The good news is,
I have a question.
Sam, that they're actually getting coloured television in Tasmania next week, and I reckon that's sensational.
The power's on.
I have a question for Sue, Sam.
Sue, Sam?
Go ahead, Greg.
Sue, how do you keep fit on the boat? I mean, I'm imagining that you're the sort of person that'd go for a morning jog and do some aerobics or whatever, but how do you keep fit in such a small, confined space?
Well, that's going to be an interesting one, having two active people sitting here, obviously looking at each other while we go for 23 hours. I mean, that was an interesting trip in itself.
Jeez.
But actually, I will tell you, though, because of the rocking and because of the movement, and you've got to keep yourself steady, you're actually working your core more than what you would doing exercise. So just walking around the boat, you're doing more exercise than what you think.
That is absolutely true.
Right.
The boat got a fair rock up, but for a stretch of about 5 or 6 hours, and just to walk properly and not crash yourself into the side of cabinets and things, that actually is correct. You get a nice workout doing that.
God, it must be fun. It must be fun.
Instead of when you put the kettle on, you normally stand there and do some squats while the kettle's boiling or something like that. But when you actually put the kettle on, you were swaying, trying to just stay upright. So
when you boil the kettle and you're going to make a cup of tea or coffee, here's an exercise in dexterity. See if you can get the boiling hot water into the cup without pouring it down your thigh or your knees. No, you think I'm joking. That is an extraordinary talent to do that.
I wonder you stayed landlocked, Evans.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Right.
I'll stick to the Stewart Highway. Well, going parallel, Sam. You're going up on the swell, and I'm going up the guts of Australia on the Stewart Highway.
Well, when we come back next and we speak again, Greg and Craig, see if you could maybe give us the history of Slim Dusty and how he got his name, or Albert Namatjira, just maybe you give us a rundown of what he did. And so it's been very interesting and historical exploration of your trip up to, where you're going actually, to the Northern Territory, are you?
They're going to Darwin, call into Alice Springs and watch the Demons play. Melbourne will have a game up there, and then keep going. Just keep going until Land's End, Darwin.
Fantastic. And Craig, what have you been doing?
Not much farming, actually, but I've got to replace the tractor on the battery today, the battery on the tractor. On your way up, speaking of Slim Dusty, you should call in at Port Macquarie, which is one of my favourite places in New South Wales. You'll go
I'm going up the guts. How can I go to Port? Oh, you mean Sam?
I'm talking to Sam, idiot. The Hastings River. And then you can go to Kempsey. And in Kempsey, it's the Slim Dusty Museum.
Oh, really? I love Slim.
And that's the home of a Kubra hat.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get him started.
Don't get me started on, I've seen the sights of Nashville, walk the streets of old LA. And then it says, in my Williams boots and a Kubra hat, I reckon that I'm dressed pretty flash, and moleskins are never out of style. From 50s rock to Kidgey Cole, I give it straight right from the soul, and that's the only way I walk that country mile.
Country mile.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Hey, thanks for doing this. We've got more equipment here. We've got more wires and cameras, and we're sitting here. So we really appreciate you coming on, and we'll speak to you again.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sue. Have a safe trip.
Safe
you,
travel,
Craig.
guys. Thank
All
you.
the best.
See you, Greg. Here's a bit of Slim Dusty.
Over the years.
Here he is.
So we're going to do a truck song for you. This one I released. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Come on, no.
He's there with his wife there, singing along. Cheers.
Come on.
The lights on the hill, I bet.
Lights on the hill. There you go.
The lights on the hill.
Can you sing it?
Sam, Greg, you'll get it. Safe journey.
Smarter
All the
Sam.
best.
Safe journey. No.
Good on you.
Tomorrow.
Safe journey to you all.
Bye.
See ya.